What is up, guys? My name is Matt Singer, MS Media here. Today we are going to be going over the a7S Mark II and the Sony a6000 review. I know many people don't do this on YouTube because it's a very big comparison. The first thing I'd like to be going over is the ISO. Obviously the winner of this is going to be the a7S Mark II, but I just wanted to show you guys the footage of both of them compared. We did f3.5 at shutter speed 1/50 of a second, and we put them together on the test and see what they can go to their limits. Check it out. 400, 500, 640, 800, 1000, 1250, 1600, 2000, 2500, 3200, 4000, 5000, 6400, 8000, 10,000. 1600, 2000, 2500, 3200, 4000, 5000, 6400, 8000, 10,000, 12,800, 16,000, 20,000, 25,600, 30,000, 32,000, 40,000, 51,000, 64,000, 80,000, 102,000, 128,000, 160,000. That is where it starts to get greeny. So guys, as you just saw the ISO test, now we'll be going over the 4K versus 1080. You could shoot 4K and 1080 in this, 4K at 60 frames per second and 1080 at 120, but a 2.2 time crop factor, which kind of messes it up if you don't have a wide angle lens. I'm shooting at a 50mm f1.8. But if you are going to be cropped in at 120 frames per second, it still does the job, and it's an amazing frame rate to shoot at for slow motion. For the Sony a6000, it only shoots at 1080 for 60 frames per second, highest frames per second it can go. Both the cameras do great. Very, very big difference if you are shooting with the a7S Mark II. The 4K is a very, very big difference. The only con that I have with 4K is larger files and larger import files, and as you're editing, so if you're shooting a 1-minute Instagram video, it's going to fill up a lot of space on your phone if you airdrop it or on Instagram and to your phone as well. So 4K, that's the only con I really have with it. Besides that, the pro is you could crop in and still have amazing resolution. Rather 1080, if you crop in, you're going to get less resolution, but the pro is you do get less file sizes and easier to send to your phone or send to Instagram, or just less file size in general as you export. So that's 4K versus 1080 for you, and they both shoot great when they're recording. But I once again, still a beast of a video camera. Can't beat the a7S Mark II, but the Sony a6000 is a great video camera as well. As for durability goes, I literally feel like I'm actually holding a camera when I actually hold the a7S Mark II. It just feels more like a camera. The rubber on the side, the metal on this side, the buttons, everything's within your grasp of touching everything. The only thing I don't like is the record button. It's kind of hard to reach because my thumbs are a little big and I have to bring them down. What's better about this camera is it pops open the side for the SD slot, rather than at the Sony a6000 having to go under. If you have a 1/4 screw with something attached, you have to unattach everything. Just the feel of this camera and the viewfinder, everything about it it's a lot heavier and bulky, just feels more durable and more like a camera. But that was a given though, because it's a much more expensive camera at that price. But for the Sony a6000, this thing has done me very, very well over the past couple years. It's a lot lighter. I do like the feel of this camera, a little small obviously. Everything's within your reach also, your grasp, everything. I love this camera, and it's very well built. This thing has been through hell and back. All the metal on the sides, everything's attached nice, all the buttons. No problems with this camera whatsoever. So both these cameras I would say is pretty even for durability. A very big thing for me, because I like to shoot on autofocus, not manual focus many of the times, but the autofocus of the a7S Mark II really grinds my gears, because you pay $2,200 to $2,500 for a camera, whatever. I think it's like $2,200 something, whatever it is. the autofocus of this camera, I'm not gonna lie, is not that well. There's like 169 AF points, and something with the a6000 is like a couple hundred. This thing performs amazing with the autofocus. It grabs onto exactly what your subject is, and it just knows. Like, I guess it's a mind reader. It really does do amazing with the autofocus. The A7S Mark II, I just can't get it to grab onto what I want it to grab on unless I click the button several times and actually, you know, back up and move around and keep, you know, switching, and then I have to go into my settings and then do manual focus, then go back to autofocus or AFS or autofocus continuous or something like that, AFC. But the autofocus of the A7S Mark II is not as well, or not as good as I'd hoped. But the A7S Mark III coming out, hopefully it'll be better, I don't know. But for the winner of this, I'd have to give it to the a6000. The a6000's autofocus is absolutely amazing. So guys, for battery life, again, I'm going to have to give it to the a6000. The reason why is because when you're shooting 4K a lot of times, you're going to run through battery. It usually after about like an hour and a half to 2 hours of shooting, I'm done with battery and it's dead. It says battery exhausted, done. The A7S Mark II runs through battery because of 4K. If you're shooting in 1080, it'll save you a little bit more battery. And I've heard a lot of complaints with the battery life of the A7S Mark II. I don't know why. Again, maybe they'll fix that in the A7S Mark III. But it does run through battery very quick. So if you're at a wedding shoot or a social event or whatever you're filming for any sort of event, or you're just a fun videographer, bring a couple batteries for yourself because you're going to need it. The a6000, I've been on shoots with this thing for 5 to 8 hours filming, and it's lasted and it's done great. No problems. I'll just end the event and it'll probably have around 20% battery life left. I absolutely love this camera for battery life. I usually bring 2 batteries and one does the job. So, and that's because I'm shooting in 1080, obviously, because you can't go any higher. But the a6000 will be the winner for battery life. So guys, one thing I do want to talk about that's very important for me: if you do not have a gimbal, this thing is absolutely amazing with the in stabilization of the camera. The 5-axis stabilization is amazing. You know, you could be walking and bobbing up and down and it'll stay pretty straight. You're going to need a gimbal if you're doing a lot of fast action running or following a car for car videos or whatever event you're shooting at. You might need a gimbal, you might not. I don't know what your situation is, but the 5-axis stabilization does absolutely amazing in camera. And I haven't needed a gimbal yet, so I love that. Obviously, the Sony a6000 doesn't have in-camera stabilization, but I have a gimbal that I could use as eye crane, and it works great. So, you know, overall, guys, like, you know, not finishing up the video, just saying, if you're looking for a really great video camera, this is the one. This has the in-camera stabilization, this doesn't, so you obviously know what's going to happen there. So, overall, guys, I hope you guys liked this review. Couple last words I have to say. Again, you guys are paying $2,000 more for this sort of camera. This is a $600 camera, $500 camera. This is a $2,500 camera, so it's a very big difference. You're going to get 4K, 120 frames per second, 5-axis stabilization, just the overall feel of a better camera. With this, you get faster autofocus and better battery life. You lose the 120 frames per second. You lose the in-camera stabilization. No full frame. This is full frame. You know, the 4K, but there's pros and cons to everything, guys. You know, you're spending a lot more money, you're spending less money. It's up to you and your budget for what you're shooting and what you're doing as a videographer. But overall, great cameras. Obviously, the winner of this would be the A7S Mark II. And for photos, I would have an extra a6000 in my bag just to shoot photos because the autofocus and because the battery life is so great on this. It takes great photos with 24.3 megapixels, and this would be my beast of a video camera. So overall, guys, I hope you guys like this review. I'm Matt Singer, MS Media. Check out my YouTube channel, check out my Instagram account. Thank you.